Hello guys, this is me Simo Orohara, and in this video we will talk about one of the fights that took place in the last arc but didn't appear in a form of chapters. It was rather published in the form of a short novel, and it was actually in the data book 13 Bleeds. And the novel was, as always, written by narrator under the supervision of Kobo. And this novel is about the fight between Kira and the Sternritter Shaz, and this specific battle explains many things we haven't seen in the manga, like what happened to Kira after chapter 494, in which he received that fatal injury from Busby, and how he survived and came back in chapter 654. It also showed us who is the Sternritter Shaz, who appeared in chapter 512, and what his true power and abilities. And also we will discover Shaz's real identity and plans, as well as Kira's new character and his fight against Shaz. So guys, stay with me. According to the story, Shaz is a Sternritter made by Grimmy with his imagination, meaning that Shaz is just like this Sternritter that I can't spell his name correctly. He was created from Grimmy's imagination, and Shaz had a unique ability called Viability. This ability works through the regenerative ability of Shaz. His regenerative ability is so strong that it surpasses the regenerative ability of Hollows and Quincy in their full standing form, meaning that no matter how many times you cut him, Shaz will absorb the Reishi in his radius and reshape the parts cut from his body, and so he avoid fatal injuries. And this same ability enabled him to escape from Grimmy's control, where he regenerated his entire imagined body parts with a real one by absorbing Reishi, and it is mentioned in the novel that Grimmy didn't really care about that, about what Shaz had done, and let it get to Yuhaba. The latter gave another name to Shaz's ability and gave him the Greek letter Sigma, meaning that Shaz originally existed thanks to Grimmy's imagination, but after that he had his own existence and was recognized by Yuhabach, and also he had his own Schrift like the rest. And as a thank you for Yuhabach's recognition of Shaz as a Sternritter, he participated in the first Quincy invasion with Pepe. They both attacked the Development Institute of the 12th Division. So in the chapter 512, Shaz was standing behind a cone next to some of the Institute staff, and they were all killed by him. And I still remember that there's when that chapter was released, I thought that Ichigo had eliminated Shaz in one hit and that he was done before we knew his ability or even how Ichigo killed him. But in the novel it was mentioned that Shaz decided to flee from Ichigo's attack because he was surprised by his strength. And here we don't know whether Shaz managed to avoid Ichigo's attack and then he ran away, or if he received it and as a result of that attack he decided to flee, especially since he thought that if he kept fighting Ichigo he would be busy regenerating himself while being attacked, which could lead to his arrest from the 12th Division. So in the end he decided to avoid fighting Ichigo. Instead he decided to implement an interesting plan, which is to look for the Hogyoku and use its powers to his advantage. It appears that Shaz had some informations about the power of the Hogyoku, such as the fact that it can break the barrier between a Shinigami and a Hollow and makes its owner on another level of strength, combining the two powers. So he thought that if he got the Hogyoku, he would become a Hollow Quincy, especially as he thought that his ability would help him overcome the fact that the holification is a poison to the Quincy. As I said, he thought of looking for the Hogyoku, but quickly he abandoned the idea because the Hogyoku was already with Aizen, so it was no longer possible. So instead of looking for it, he decided to make his own Hogyoku. He was told that the information he needed was in the Great Spirit Library. So this library is in the Central 46. It is considered Soul Society History's information store, and from this library Aizen was able to obtain several important informations related to the Hogyoku and the Okin. Therefore Shaz wanted to follow the same path and get the informations he needed to make the Hogyoku, and it seems that he decided to do this in the second invasion. And here I will go back to Kira before we move on to what happened during the second invasion. We also what happened to Kira and that terrifying injury he suffered. I personally didn't think he could die. It is true that his injury was serious, but others had more serious injuries and they survived, like Hiyori for example. However, this time the one who saved Kira wasn't Captain Unohana, and you know why, nor was it anyway, but Captain Mayuri. So guys, as far as I understand, when Mayuri found Kira, he was half a step away from death. So much so that his heart stopped, and according to what was mentioned in the novel, Mayuri sewed Kira's soul into his body. And not only that, but he put the souls of the officers who were beside him and were about to die in Kira's body. This made Kira get a very big reiatsu. Mayuri also increased Kira's physical strength and toughness, making him almost another person in terms of strength. But at the same time, Kira was no longer the same person because of these changes. By the way, there is a special chapter released within the data book 13 Blades and also in volume 70, in which there is a scene of Kira being treated by Mayuri. Anyway, Kira now is ready to go back to fight after being treated, and Shaz awaits for the second invasion to begin his plan. So after the beginning of the second invasion, as noted, the shadows of Quincy swallowed up the city and revealed the Vanderreich. However, among the places that were not swallowed up by the shadows was the Central 46, because it's located underground. And here the novel also focuses on a third party involved in the battle that will take place. This character that looks like a child, her name is Nayura Amakado, and she is the Great Spirit Librarian. She took the position from her father, who was killed by Aizen in the past. Anyway, Amano knew Kira from a past encounter exactly in Kira's investigation in Central 46 with Hisage regarding their relationship with Gin and Tosen. So this meeting between them was after the battle between Aizen and Ichigo. But now, this character was inside Central 46 during the attack of the Vanderreich in the second invasion. Apparently, Shaz's attack resulted in an explosion that caused part of one of the walls to fall on her legs, making her unable to move. So as we said, Shaz intended on entering the Great Spirit Library to get informations on how to make the Hogyoku. And apparently after Aizen stole these informations from the library, a strong seals were placed at the entrance to the library, and only the librarian can remove these seals for anyone to get in. So Shaz started killing the central members one by one, looking for the librarian, until someone pointed at Nayura Amakado, and Shaz was surprised that the librarian and a member of the Central 46 was actually a young girl, but that didn't prevent him from trying to take the informations from her. But at the moment he was about to cut her legs so that he could carry her easily with one of his daggers, he suddenly felt terrible pain at the side of his arm. To his surprise, one of the Shinigami was standing in front of him holding Shaz's severed arm. It was Kira, and Shaz's ability immediately started absorbing the Riichi from its surroundings, regenerating his arm. And so Shaz asked who Kira was and what was his name, but Kira's reply was, "I'm no longer anyone." He then awakens his Shikai and heads with lightning speed toward Nayura, whose half body was under the rubble of the shattered walls. With one hand, Kira removes the wall from above Nayura as if it were nothing. He lifted it and firmly shoots it in Shaz's direction. The little girl was amazed at Kira's strength, but also marveled at Kira's appearance because his skin was so pale. More than that, she couldn't feel his reiatsu. It was a weird reiatsu, almost dead. Nayura asked Kira if it was really him and was he always that strong. He replied, "This man is dead. I'm simply just a Shinigami." And then he disappeared in a flash to stand in front of Shaz. After a short conversation with him, Kira extended his Zanpakuto to the floor and released the Hado 58, and its name is Tenran. Without mentioning the incantation, the Hado was so powerful that it formed a big storm inside the room, so much so that Shaz asked Kira, "Given to your strength, you seem to be a captain, right?" And then he threw several daggers at Kira's direction. The latter easily blocked them and made some bounce back to Shaz. Then Shaz picked one of those daggers and noticed that they became heavy, so he concluded that the ability of Kira's Zanpakuto makes anything that he cuts increase in weight. Moments later, Kira will release a Hado Shakaho, and Shaz tried to avoid the fireball advancing towards him by reversing it with one of his daggers, causing the fireball to head towards the ground, which resulted a big explosion. But at the same time, Shaz will find Kira standing in front of him to release another Hado Tenran, trying to cut his arm again. But Shaz this time blocked Kira using the blood vein. At the same time, he felt his arm was becoming too heavy, so he amputated it, although it will regenerate later thanks to his ability. So guys, what will happen after it, and according to what I understood, is as follows. The moment Kira released the Hado Tenran 58, which creates a powerful storm, the storm had lifted a lot of the Central's rubble above, and Kira had already used his Zanpakuto's power on this rubble, which caused it to fall on both of them. At that moment, Shaz was about to attack Kira. The rubble plastered both Shaz and Kira to the ground, and apparently Kira somehow managed to stand up while the rubbles weighed heavily on Shaz's body. And it didn't stop there. Kira would cut Shaz several times using the Wabiski, which will increase the weight of his body to the point that Shaz screamed from the severity of the pain. And directly Shaz's body was regenerated his crushed bones and chopped flesh. But that didn't solve the weight problem. His body has reached a weight that even the floor was no longer capable of carrying it, and his body began to sink into the ground to a deep level. Kira was no longer able to see him, and that was basically the end of Shaz, meaning that he is still alive now, but at the bottom of the ground. And so this actually was the end of the fight between Kira and Shaz. And what I can notice in this short fight is that Kira has become at another level of strength in every aspect. Big Ryatsu, big stamina and body strength, lightning speed, and also using some Kido without even pronouncing the incantation, to the point that Shaz thought that Kira was a captain. The other thing is that it was proven that it was possible for the Shinigami to use the Kido in their fights against Quincy. Kira used Kido in most of his attacks, and this was absent in the last arc. I mean, almost no captain or Shinigami who are known for using Kido, and almost no one of them used the Kido. And the same goes for the bleach. Shaz in this fight used the blow to stop one of Kira's attack, and this is a technique we only saw at the beginning of the last arc, and after that it was forgotten. And another thing is that the power of the Sternritter Grimy. I mean, the fact that your imagination leads you to create other Sternritter with unique abilities is frankly terrifying, and no wonder that, as it was mentioned, he was considered the most powerful Sternritter, and that no one could deal with him except for Yuhabach and Lampard because she was close to him. So guys, this was the ability of the Sternritter Shaz, as well as how Kira made it back from his fatal injury. I hope to see this fight between Shaz and Kira in the anime, because Kira is one of the wonderful vice captains in Bleach and has much talent to show us. Unfortunately, in the final arc he hadn't anything to show us because of that fatal injury, but now Kobo can fix this in the anime. So guys, see you in my next video.